Hey everybody, this is another deck building for our next run through the Dunwich Legacy campaign. We have Wendy Adams. These are her prerequisite cards. You had something, did you want to talk about when the card came up, or do you want to talk about the amulet right now?
I'll talk about the amulet right now. I saw one card in particular, but the amulet, like, Wendy's big thing is, besides the fact that she can't fight because she's clearly a child and there's no way she could fight monsters or anything, she'll only got one fight. Her amulet lets her play events from her graveyard, which is very important. As such, while the other red investigator, Pete, you generally want to be looking towards a scavenging and item build. Wendy's very different. You want to be looking towards an event build for her, where you can just sort of take advantage of very strong events. Red has some that just, like Lucky and Look What I Found, are very strong for investigating. You also have some things like Oops, which are, and Cunning Distraction, which can
situationally can be very strong.
Get you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And then Wendy also has access to some green cards. And green cards in general, I think, are agreed upon to be kind of meh. But being able to use your sneak attack or your backstab more than once is pretty strong.
Yeah.
To say nothing of using, like, what's it called? Emergency cash.
Yeah.
More than once.
So I'm going to go through your assets first. We'll just go through. Because the events are important, so we'll spend more time on that. We got 2 copies of Baseball Bat.
These are placeholders for other cards. You only have access to so many level 0 red and green cards.
Yeah. Albeit, if you're a fighter, Baseball Bat is a pretty strong weapon.
It's pretty reasonable, yeah.
But your one fist makes it harder to take.
Yeah, we're just here like, maybe I actually have to fight something. Hopefully I don't, but like, you don't ever want to come against like a swarm of rats or something you can't kill. And you're like, Goon, I need you to come deal with this.
Spend 3 actions to come
and
then hit them,
Like, you need to be able to defend yourself in some capacity.
We have Rabbit's Foot.
Rabbit's Foot, we're only playing one of these because Wendy's Amulet is also an accessory slot.
Yeah.
So we don't want too many of those, and it's a very solid core red card. You fail a test is one of those cards that actually kind of gets stronger the higher in difficulty you go.
Yeah.
Because you're more likely to fail tests.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
We did our last campaign, like, I liked Rabbit Foots, but it's actually surprising the amount of times you don't fail. Yeah.
I mean, like, ideally you don't fail, but like...
Yeah. It's nice to have a reward if you do.
Yeah, for like Rabbit's Foot, you're like, I kind of want to fail a test every turn to get the most out of it. But no, it's just a solid. It's a solid red card.
It costs 1, but it also has a wild, which can be strong if you have Wendy's actual amulet.
It's a very low opportunity cost card to run. Yeah. Like, worst case scenario, you get a wild token from it, and that's. I guess worst case scenario, you spend resource for it and then never fail a test. But is that really bad?
That's not. That seems pretty good. To pay 1 and never lose a test, scenario? That seems good with this game. Then we got 2 copies of Dig Too Deep, which...
this one's a bit of a placeholder. It's mostly here for the plus ability to buff your brain and your foot, because most of the treacheries test those. Those are the things that they look to punish you for having low values for. And while Wendy does have high brain and high foot...
it's nice to just shore those up if you need to make them...
Yep, it gives you a bit of a money sink too. A lot of the red cards don't cost a ton of money.
It's because red people are poor.
Yeah.
In this game.
I mean, like, I'm a child.
And Ashcan Pete was the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the...
The foot in particular is important for Wendy. She spends... evading things is how she deals with monsters.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, we got Pete Sylvester, the big man on campus.
Yep. I'm planning to build this into a sort of charisma build.
Nice. Those are fun.
Yep.
He's also pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, like, the red and the green allies are the really good ones, I think, in general, so...
Yeah, plus 1 foot, and then at the end of your turn, he heals 1 horror.
Yep, it's just...
Good.
He's just a good card. The other plus 1 foot's good for the evasion thing. He's just... He's a solid ally.
Yep. All right, now we're going to get into the events, which are the exciting part, because as you said, the amulet brings them back. We got 2 copies of Lucky.
Lucky's really good.
Play when you would fail a skill test, get +2 to your skill value for that test.
Lucky's one of those cards that I'm a strong proponent. If someone in your group can play them, they should.
Yep.
Lucky's just like, oops, I failed, but I didn't. So that's good.
Yep.
Being able to pay a resource and a card to not fail a test is...
value.
Yeah, sometimes it's very, very important.
Yeah. And the cost of 1 isn't even something that
to say nothing for the upgrade.
Yeah, which is you
upgrade's
also
insane.
draw a card.
Yeah.
Which is just gross.
It is kind of gross. You're just like, I paid a resource to not fail this test.
Yeah. We got 2 of Look What I Found, which is fast after you after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while investigating, discover 2 clues at your location.
Red's a little weird. They've got kind of this sort of fail tests tribal thing going on,
Yeah.
where they want to fail tests and gain benefits from it. We already have an investigator person in our party, but like we have what's her name, Daisy.
Yeah.
We have a Daisy for investigating. We have Zoe for fighting, and Wendy. Like I'm trying to do both.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
that's what kind of Red can do, right? You're
Yeah.
kind of utility. You're there to take advantage of it. And what also is great is that it's stress free, right? You can just go into a test and
Also
be like,
has 2 book tests.
which is huge. Just 2 books is actually like you shouldn't over like this. The bottom part's good, but even at the top part is pretty strong. It's
If you watched the Daisy video, you might have heard me play of Rex a bit compared to her. But again, I'll say the 2 books is better on Rex than on Wendy because he gets a benefit to succeeding by 2 or more. But yeah,
Anything else to say about this guy?
it's just a good card.
Yeah, it's just good. Now we have some. Actually, these ones actually have a bit of interesting discussion. These 2 are very similar. We'll go to Cunning Distraction first. Evade, automatically evade all enemies at your location, but it costs 5.
I'll be honest, I'm playing the Kind of Distraction mostly for the icons.
The icons are very good.
The
Brain and Wild.
Yep.
And-
Like in the tests, I really care about which can be the brain ones that hurt my sanity, to deal sanity damage.
Yeah.
You know, that provides me 2 tokens towards that. That being said, like the five money is a ton in this
It's
game.
a lot of money.
You're paying 5 money for something, you better be getting a good deal.
Yeah. I will say, though, as someone who had a Cunning Distraction work, it's very beneficial when you can
That's
do
just
it.
what it is. Like when
Yeah.
you pull it off, it's good. It is worth the 5 resources when it's good.
But it's always a good card because it has a wild symbol and a brain on it.
Yeah, no, that's a very important thing to notice is that it's like there's very few situations I think it'd be running more than one.
Yes, I agree.
This obviously isn't one of them. But like it's just because the icons in particular really are, that's really the saving grace for this card. It's a very solid 0 experience card for survivors to run.
Yep. Then we got Oops, which is a really weird card.
Oops is what I'm trying out. I haven't played it too much.
Oh.
It's got 2 fist icons to help out our goon.
And what it does is fast after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while attacking an enemy engaged with you, deal this attack's damage to a different enemy at your location.
So you can fail, but like not too much.
Yeah.
Which it lets you get rid of a guy.
I'm excited to see more of this card because I never got it to work.
Not this card, like, I mean, I'm excited to see this card work, but I'm also excited to see them print cards like this.
Yes.
Especially for Survivor.
I especially like if you start getting the theme of being able to move enemies towards you easier, you can take more advantage of it.
Yeah, like, if the Survivor class becomes about setting traps and stuff, that'd be really cool,
that'd be really cool.
This again continues that theme that synergizes with the Rabbit's Foot. You know, you fail test, well, I'll draw a card, but also get benefit out of it.
Yeah. In addition, this card also has 2 fists on it.
Yeah.
Which I think if it had 1 fist, this card would be a lot worse.
It would.
The 2 fists makes
Absolutely.
it really a lot strong.
Yep.
Considering the wild cards that we'll get to later that people run.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it'd be fine if it costs 1 resource to play 1 fist.
Yeah,
But I mean, like, that's all hypothetical, so.
Alright, we got ourselves your only red skill, which is Rise to the Occasion.
Rise to the occasion, again, is one of those things where, like, hey, my skills are kind of garbage sometimes, so.
Commit only to a skill test you're reforming, and only if the difficulty of that test is at least 2 higher than your base skill value. So when you can get this to work, it really just kind of, it doesn't really push you ahead. It kind of just balances you up. That's what it basically does, right?
I mean, like, ideally, go into a test, you're 1 below, and you're just like, I'm 2 ahead now.
Yeah.
And then, like, especially if you're playing on standard for, like we're going to for Dunwich Legacy,
Yeah.
I think the average is, like, minus 1.7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is just, it's good there. Like, if you're a -1, suddenly you're at, like, +2 effectively, and you're like...
As a side note, the art is also sick on this card.
It is.
But this is not a card I think you can really depend on. At least 2 higher, you'll be surprised at how often that doesn't happen. But it's a good card to have just for those moments, especially
It's another one of those
for
cards
1 fist.
I'm kind of testing out. I haven't played a ton of red characters.
But I mean,
so
it's going to be
I've
great.
played lots of, I've played a couple run-throughs with Duke.
Yeah.
And playing, like, the sort of scavenging build, but I haven't played, like, just red stuff. You know.
I think it'll be a lot better in Wendy than it is in Duke, because if you fight an enemy with 3 fist, you immediately can take advantage of this card.
Yeah.
But like with ARKHAM Pete, you fight with a 2 fist, which immediately makes it so that it needs to have 4.
4.
Right? Yeah. So
which means it has to have 6 and like.
Yeah, this is a lot easier, I think, to take advantage of a Wendy, and I think you'll actually see good use from it.
No, that is why I'm playing the Wendy deck, is because her abysmal skills are they're bad.
Yeah.
Like.
We got some green assets. We have ourselves 2 copies of pickpocketing.
Yeah, pickpocketing. I intend to be evading enemies a lot, so.
Take advantage of it. Steal from them.
I would like to do that.
What are you going to steal from some sort of, like, Migo? Just...
Oh, like cards?
Yeah.
Unique items, I guess.
Yeah. After you evade an enemy, exhaust pickpocketing to draw 1 card.
Yep. It's just a solid green card. If I mean, it's not really a green card. It's honestly more of a red card.
Yeah.
But hey.
And we got ourselves Leo DeLuca.
Leo DeLuca, once again, one of those cards that if someone can run in your group, I think they should be. Having an extra action every turn is very, very strong. I mean, like 6 money is a ton, and this is definitely one of those cards I'm going to be looking to upgrade as soon as I can.
Yep.
Just because he costs 1 less.
Yeah, he costs 5. Yeah.
That means you can play him on turn 1, and like, he just costs your money.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I drew the indebted weakness, but like in theory you can.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that even like he ultimately just pays himself off in pretty much like at the worst case 5 turns, but that's not even including the 1 resource you get.
Yeah, I really feel like an action is worth like
2 resources.
2-ish?
Like you get 1. It's like 1 point, probably like 5, right? But
it's somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5, so like say 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, like over 2 turns, he's paid himself off effectively, kind of. He also has 2 hearts and 2 brains that he can take, and I think the upgrade version has like 3 brains or something like that, or 3 hearts. Maybe it's an extra. I don't know. I have to look at. Yeah. But anyway, my point is, this one is that like not only does he just give you an extra action, he also can soak some amount of damage, which is valuable.
Yep.
It's effective healing.
Keeps you alive, which is kind of what you need sometimes.
Which is, at the end of the day, what you want.
All right, now we got some green events. We got 2 copies of Sneak Attack, which is...
You can pull up the next ones as well. They're in a similar vein.
Oh, sure, of course. We have Sneak Attack, 2 copies, and 2 copies of Backstab.
Yep.
Sneak Attack is deal 2 damage to an exhausted enemy at your location. And Backstab, fight, this attack uses feet instead of fist. This attack deals +2 damage.
I think that when you're designing your teams, you should have at least half edging on slightly more than half. Be able to deal with enemies. Enemies are a big part of the game right now in the released expansions anyway. And you know, these ones are the ones that like they benefit Wendy.
Yep.
Right. Like Sneak
Wendy.
Attack hits people that you've evaded, so they're exhausted. Backstab uses your foot instead of your punch, which you know she's way better at. But the most important part for Wendy is about that they're events. You know, if you can get going with the amulet, you can like legitimately kill things.
Yeah.
Like you're a real force to be reckoned with in combat. So
a funny thing to know also about the amulet is that you can't play it early in the game. It has to be one of the things you play later.
Yeah.
Because you can't take advantage of.
And that's pretty fair. Like late game is when you're going to be getting enemies to stack up and clues to stack up, and you need to like do things.
2 copies of Emergency Cash, 0, gain 3 resources, just very strong,
solid core
especially
card.
For expensive cards that you'll have in your deck, like Leo DeLuca.
Yep, all other events are relatively expensive as well.
And then we got 2 manual dexterities and 2 overpowers.
Which showing up the weaknesses, exaggerating our strengths.
Yeah.
You know, we'll go over those sort of things in a different video sometime, but
yeah. And then last but not least, you have 2 copies from Dunwich, which are 2 copies of Lone Wolf, which is limit 1 per investigator. When your turn begins, if there are no other investigators at your location, gain 1 resource.
Yep, I'm playing these because I mean, you can't just have your group hunt around
together.
Yeah, together. It's just it sounds like a good idea, but it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
Right, you're gonna be pulled in different directions or whatever. This gives us a very clear reason that, like, you know, I'm gonna go off my own. We're gonna have our Zoe and our Daisy kind of stick more or less together to do their thing, and like, while I'm not gonna be able to kill the hard enemies or investigate places that have like, you know, 4 or 5 clues, I'm gonna be able to hold my own.
Yep. Yeah.
And on top of that, several of my allies and events and just stuff in general is going to cost me a fair amount of resources, especially from drawing extra cards off of the Rabbit's Paw and pickpocketing.
Yeah, you'll be able to take advantage
It'll
of
give
the
me a
extra cards with
Yeah,
the
I'll be able to
extra
actually
resources.
play them.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a big part of playing green. You get a lot of resources, and you have big things to play. You gotta. That's green's advantage. They get a lot of resources, and you have to have a way to use them.
Well, this
So.
is Wendy's deck.
Mm-hmm.
We have one deck left to show you before we start playing some games, so we'll get on to that one. Once again, if there's any thoughts you have on the deck, let us know in the comments, because the best way to get better deck building is to hear other people's thoughts on deck building. Or ignore everyone else's thoughts on deck building and just jam a bunch of fucking stuff in your deck.
I mean, like, yeah, do what you want.